At dinner, my sister McGrady raised her goblet. The red wine made her smile sweet, but her words were like ice picks. Elder sister, if you work harder, don't always keep those worthless jobs, it probably won't be so. You know, a lifetime of stagnation. There is no foreshadowing, no half hesitation, this is hard into my heart. My parents sat opposite, not only did not stop them, but let out a burst of tiny laughter. The approval in the smile, like salt sprinkled on the wound, made me cold all over. I looked down at my hand, the knuckles were swollen and deformed, covered with cracks of different depths, and the nails were embedded with unwashed oil and cement ash, which were the marks carved on me by 3 jobs. I suddenly woke up. I worked 16 hours a day, working 3 jobs to make money, in order to support a person who laughed at me with my hard-earned money. That night, I didn't scream or cry. I just went back to the apartment and grabbed the bills that belonged to McGrady: rent, luxury installments, travel expenses, and tore them to pieces. As the scraps of paper swirled, the sense of suffocation over the years collapsed, and I tasted freedom for the first time. Before I continue to talk about the follow-up, I would like to ask you, have you ever used up all you have for the so-called family affection, but you have been taken for granted? When pay is trampled on, do you choose to continue to compromise, or brave stop-loss? People always say that family means unconditional love, but in my family, love always comes with a price, and I am the one who pays the bill. Since I was 23 years old, I have shouldered the burden of providing for my sister, and worked 3 jobs a day. From 5 a.m. to 12 noon, I worked as a coolie on the construction site, moving bricks and mixing cement, covered in dust. At noon, I took a few bites of rice in a hurry. From 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., I worked as an apprentice in a garage, bent over to repair cars and soaked in oil. From 9 p.m. to 1 p.m., the fumes make my throat hoarse all the year round. Most of the time, I can only sleep 4 hours a day. It is still dark when I go out in the morning, and the city is already asleep when I go home in the early morning. The body is always mixed with the smell of cement ash, engine oil, and lampblack. The hands have never been clean, and the cracks have been scabbed and worn out. When the pain is too painful, apply some cheap hand cream to deal with it. I have told myself over and over again that this is only temporary. When McGrady graduates from university, my exhaustion will always be meaningful. Every time I move an extra brick, fix an extra car, and sell an extra snack, I can bring McGrady closer to better life. McGrady is the apple of the eye of the family and the promising child of her parents. When she was admitted to college, the whole family celebrated as if she had overcome the world's problems. That night, my mother cried on the phone and said, "Helen, your sister really gives us a long face. You must help her to finish college and let her live a good life. This is your responsibility as a sister. This is never a question, but an order that cannot be refused." At first, I was filled with joy and felt that my efforts had been made. I paid her tuition, accommodation, and textbook fees for the first semester, and gave her an extra amount of living expenses so that she would not be wronged at school. She sent a text message, "Sister, it's very kind of you. When I make money in the future, I will honor you." I have read this sentence over and over again countless times, taking it as a spiritual pillar to support myself. But when a sense of entitlement took root in her heart, gratitude was gone. Soon, she stopped saying thank you or even asking if it was convenient for me. She just sent a screenshot of the bill and the collection code directly, with a stiff tone like an order, "Elder sister, it's time to pay the rent. Transfer me $5,000. Textbooks are too expensive. Transfer me $800. My classmates all buy new cell phones. I want to change them too. I'll $10,000 into them. The car insurance has expired. It's up to you. My bank card is always overdrawn, and my living expenses are reduced to the lowest level. I only eat 1 steamed bread and pickles for a meal. I have been wearing clothes for several years, sewing and mending, but McGrady's request has intensified. I hesitated and wanted to talk to her, but my mother could always kidnap me with guilt. McGrady is still young and doesn't understand. You should be more responsible. She has a good life and our whole family has face. I can only click on the bank app to transfer money again and again, deceiving myself that she will return it to me when she graduates, but deep down, I know clearly that this is just self-deception. In order to make McGrady have no worries about food and clothing, glamorous, frugal, and even reluctant to go to the hospital when he was ill, McGrady showed off on his social accounts, candlelight dinners in rooftop restaurants, limited edition brand name bags, cross-border travel as soon as he said he would go, and the latest electronic products. The accompanying articles were either, hard work will pay off or, girls will be rich. The first time I saw the accompanying article, hard work will pay off, I was nibbling on cold steamed buns in the corner of the auto repair factory. I suddenly burst out laughing, tears streaming out of my laughter, and my throat hurt like a fire. I showed her post to the master of the auto repair factory. The master sighed, wiped the oil on his hands and said, Helen, what are you trying to do? You try your best to support her, but she regards your hard-earned money as the result of her hard work. She doesn't cherish you at all. I shook my head and said stubbornly, she is my sister. Who will help her if I don't help her? The teacher stared at me for a long time and said softly, it is because I am my sister that I should not spoil her. You are not helping her, you are harming her. At midnight that day, I closed my stall and went home. I was too tired to take a bath. I opened the express sent by McGrady. Inside was a new rent notice. The amount circled in red was as high as $8,000, which was more than my monthly salary for 3 jobs. My stomach tumbled and I remembered how many bricks I would move at the construction site, how many cars I would repair in the auto repair shop, and how many snacks I would sell in the night market for the 8,000 yuan. I told myself that I must talk to her this time and set up a boundary. I can no longer pay without a bottom line. But the next day, when Madison sent a text message, elder sister, if I don't pay the rent, I will be kicked out. Please turn to me quickly and don't whine. I still compromised and pieced together the money. Isn't that what a good sister should do? Always stick to the bottom line of family affection until it is crushed. But a certain corner of my heart has begun to break. Every compromise makes me more tired, and every transfer makes me feel more cold. I can feel a storm brewing in the bottom of my heart, quiet but firm, and the storm, there is always a moment of outbreak. Everything began with those seemingly insignificant, but let me again and again chilling moment. One afternoon, I was moving bricks at the construction site. The hot sun was scorching the earth. Sweat was dripping down my forehead, blurring my vision. My cell phone was sandwiched between my shoulder and cheek. McGrady's phone came in. His voice was sweet and greasy but with unquestionable urgency. Elder sister, the landlord has raised the rent again. This time it will be increased by 1,000. Please help me pad it first and pay it back to you next month. Didn't I just transfer 8,000 rent to you last week? How did it rise again? I gasped. She sighed impatiently, as if I were making trouble without reason. Oh, what can I do if the landlord wants to raise it? Are you giving it or not? If you don't give it to me, you'll have to sleep on the street. I'll pay you back, promise. Her promise was never fulfilled. This is always the case. The emergency never stopped. It just changed its name. Elder sister, I want to enroll in an interest class and transfer me to 3,000. Elder sister, for my classmate's birthday, I want to give a present and transfer me 2,000. Elder sister, I want to buy a brand name bag. The difference is 5,000. You can make it up. Elder sister, the car insurance has expired. Please help me pay for it. I want to believe that she does have difficulties, but every lie is wrapped in the brilliance of brand name clothing, and every request is accompanied by righteous arrogance. Every one of her ins is like a loud slap in my face, toasting under the Paris Tower, shopping on the streets of New York, basking in the sun on the beaches of Hawaii, with the text either, attract the rich, or, life should be fun in time. I looked at the delicious food she was drying out and remembered the steamed bread and pickles she was eating every day. Looking at the famous brand shoes she was drying out, thinking of the worn canvas shoes on her feet, looking at the travel photos she was drying out, I remembered that I hadn't even been out of my hometown several times. My heart hurts like a needle, but I never questioned her. I was taught to take peace as the most precious, and take care of my family. Even if I wronged myself, I must maintain the peace of the family. But this suffocating peace has long left me breathless. The master of the auto repair factory was the first to notice something wrong with me. Helen, why are you getting thinner and thinner recently? My face is too bad. I look too tired to hold on. During his lunch break, he handed me a bottle of water, his eyes full of unbearable. It's okay, but the working hours are too long. I forced a smile. He tilted his head and said, still sending money to your sister? I didn't answer, and he didn't need me to answer. He shrugged, sighed, and said, some people only love you when you are useful, and when you squeeze out the value, they will kick you away. This sentence, like a stone, stirred up thousands of waves in my heart and hovered for several days. Then one Sunday, I seldom had a rest and called home to tell my parents about my hard work. Mom picked up the phone and her tone was as cheerful as ever. Helen, what's the matter? Did you transfer money to Maddy? She also said just now that you have been a little cold to her recently and the money has turned slowly. Cold? I repeated, my voice trembled a little. I've been trying my best to make money for her. I don't pay for her rent, living expenses, and car insurance. I'm working 3 jobs a day and I'm dying of exhaustion. Does she still think I'm cold? Mom's tone instantly sharpened. How do you speak? McGrady is still at school. How stressful is the pressure? What's the matter with you being a sister? She has done so well, you should be proud. She needs you, you should support her unconditionally. Guilt drowns me like a tide. Even though I have given everything, even though I am exhausted physically and mentally, I still long for the approval of my parents. But when Maddy called to say she was going to Paris for a year of exchange, my last line of defense completely shattered. Elder sister, I'm going to Paris for an exchange. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The tuition and living expenses are about 200,000 yuan. You will deal with it, right? Her voice was as relaxed as saying, what to eat today? I froze, my throat tightened, and I couldn't say a word for a long time. McGrady, I really can't make it. I work 3 jobs a day, and I can't earn much in a month. I can't get 200,000. Oh, come on, sister, she said, you can think of another way, just a few more jobs. You don't have any other expenses, you don't fall in love, you don't travel, what are you doing with the money? You are the most capable. You can certainly think of a way. You don't even travel. This sentence like an ice pick, pierced my heart. She doesn't know that I don't want to travel, not without dreams, but my dreams and life have long been swallowed up by the words, provide for her. Hanging up the phone, I stared at my calloused, oily and cement-dusted hands. It was these hands that moved bricks, repaired cars, and set up stalls that paved the way for her to pursue all her dreams. Suddenly, I hated these hands, not because they were dirty and ugly, but because they made a bright life, but let her despise my mediocrity in turn. At that time, I didn't know that the dialogue was the end of my bottomless efforts. On the night of the family dinner, I didn't want to go. The master of the auto repair factory advised me, you don't go, you are also angry when you go. That kind of family is not worth your grievance. But my mother cried and begged on the phone, Helen, you should give me a face. Maddy came back specially. The family hasn't been together for a long time. Guilt again triumphed over reason, and I went anyway. Walking into my parents' house, What came to my face was the smell of food and a strong smell of brand-name perfume. That was the smell of McGrady. She was wearing an expensive dress, her makeup was exquisite, and she exuded a sense of pampered superiority that was out of step with the smell of dust on my body. She hugged me hypocritically, her arm was only symbolically on my back, her eyes full of disgust, as if touching me would stain her clothes. At first, the dinner was fairly peaceful. My father asked me perfunctorily about my work, and I briefly said 2 words. My mother has been giving McGrady food, caring and attentive, completely ignoring my existence. I bowed my head and ate silently, with mixed feelings in my heart. McGrady suddenly put down her chopsticks, picked up her cell phone, and showed her parents the photos of her trip with her friends. Her tone was triumphant. Mom and Dad, look, I took this in Italy. I'm going to Paris at the next stop. The tickets are all booked. She said this in a tone as if she were announcing her coronation. Mom immediately smiled and applauded. Our little traveler is really good. Helen, you see how promising your sister is. You must help her well, but you can't let her be wronged outside. That sounds like a command, not a request. I couldn't help it any longer. I took a deep breath and plucked up the courage to say, Mom, McGrady is an adult. She can find a part-time job to make money. I don't want to pay her anymore. I'm really too tired. At this moment, McGrady suddenly raised his head and looked straight at me. The corners of his mouth evoked a smile that hurt people and did not see blood. Sister, if you work harder and make more money, don't always keep those few worthless jobs. It probably won't be so. You know, I've been stagnant all my life, and I can't even help me realize my dream. The table fell silent for an instant, the fork stopped in midair, and no one spoke. Dad moved uneasily and dodged his eyes. Mom looked down at her plate and was silent, acquiescing to her words. At that moment, I saw them completely. What they care about is never whether I am tired or not, but whether McGrady is doing well. My efforts are worthless in their eyes, even as they should be. I managed to squeeze out a smile, my voice hoarse but extremely firm. You're right, McGrady, I'm stagnant, but it won't be long. After drinking the wine in the glass, I stood up and put the napkin neatly on the table. It's my treat tonight. This is the last time I will pay for you. You should be responsible for your life in the future. My mother suddenly raised her head, her face turned white, and took a breath. Helen, you. What are you talking about? She is your sister. McGrady frowned, a face of confusion and anger. Elder sister, what do you mean? You're leaving me alone. How can you be so selfish? Without explanation, I turned and left the home that was suffocating me. On the way home, I cried, not because of injustice, but because of relief. Years of forbearance, giving and self-sacrifice came to an end at that moment. I know that from today on, I will live for myself. Into their own apartment, over the years of fatigue, grievance and silent resentment, and finally hit. The kitchen countertop was piled high with unopened envelopes from Maddy, rent notices, luxury goods installment bills, travel expenses details, all proof of my enslaving efforts. I picked up the envelopes, one by one torn to pieces, scraps of paper scattered on the floor, like a belated salvation. The voice was sharp, decisive, and liberating. For the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I just felt enough, really enough. 3 days later, the first call came. I was moving bricks at the construction site. My cell phone was shaking in my trouser pocket. It was McGrady. I kept it ringing until it hung up automatically. Then came the text message, which was polite at first. Elder sister, are you angry? The rent should be paid, please transfer it to me. Later, he became more and more flustered and unreasonable. Elder sister, what do you mean? You didn't reply to my message on purpose, did you? Transfer the money quickly, or I will be thrown out. Helen, you've gone too far. When I got off work, My mobile phone showed 12 missed calls, all from McGrady, and dozens of text messages, which were ugly. That night, I washed up, sat on the sofa to rest, my cell phone lit up again, and I finally answered. Not because of soft-hearted, is to want to hear her true face. Helen. Why don't you pay the rent? Are you crazy? Her voice was shrill and full of anger. Because that's not my rent, I said calmly. McGrady, from today on, I won't give you any more money. You should be responsible for your own life. What did you say? She screamed in disbelief. How can you be so selfish? So heartless? We are sisters. If I get kicked out by the landlord, it's all your fault. Then you, better learn how to pack your bags and find a job to make money, I said coldly. I've paid you enough over the years and I don't owe you any more. You are too cruel. Her voice was crying, trying to kidnap me with family affection. You don't care about me, what will I do in the future? You are an adult, you have hands and feet, and you can make money by yourself, I said. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars to buy a bag and travel, and you can pay your own rent and living expenses, but you are used to relying on me and getting used to it. You will regret it. She screamed and hung up the phone. I didn't regret it. On the contrary, I slept soundly that night, which I had never had in many years. The next morning, my mother called with a cold tone. Helen, how could you do this to Maddy? She's your own sister. How can you leave her alone? You are too ruthless, too selfish. Ruthless? Selfish? I smiled, and the laughter was full of sarcasm. Mom, how much I have paid for McGrady over the years, don't you know? I work 3 jobs a day, moving bricks, repairing cars and setting up stalls. I am so tired that I am dying. I live frugally for her to go to school and for her to squander. I can't bear to eat or wear. What about her? I spend my hard-earned money with peace of mind and laugh at my worthless. You have never asked me if I am tired or not, and you have never cared whether I am doing well. You only know that you want me to pay and let me pay the bill. Now I don't want to pay any more, so I'm ruthless and selfish. Family shouldn't be like this. Families should help each other. My mother is still arguing. Mutual help is a two-way street, not a one-sided effort by me alone, not a lifetime of indentured servitude, I said and hung up the phone. I could hear the angry roar of my father on the other end of the phone, and my mother was still crying, but I didn't waver at all and directly hacked their number. I know that if I take this step, I will never go back, but I don't regret it. That week, McGrady went completely crazy. First, she kept changing her number to call me. After being blacked out again and again, she went straight to the night market where I set up my stall. It was late at night, and I was cleaning up the stall when she suddenly rushed over and overturned my snack cart. The oil drum fell to the ground, and the hot oil splashed on my ankle, which made me grin. Helen. You cold-blooded, heartless woman. Why don't you care about me? Her hair is messy, her makeup is spent, like a crazy woman. I tell you, if you don't give me the money, I'll come to make trouble every day, so that your business can't be done and your job can be guaranteed. No. Around the stall owners and customers are gathered around, pointing. I choked back the pain in my ankle and looked at her coldly. McGrady, I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. If you make any more noise, I'll call the police. She didn't expect me to be so tough. She paused for a moment and then rolled around. Come and see, everyone. This woman doesn't even care about her sister for money. I was about to be driven out by the landlord, but she was from ruin. Is there any justice? At this time, the master of the auto repair factory just came to pick me up from work. Seeing this scene, he immediately stepped forward to protect me behind me and denounced McGrady. Do you still have the face to make trouble? Your sister works 3 jobs a day to support you, but you squander her hard-earned money and scold her in turn? Do you feel your conscience? The master told me everything I had done over the years, and the people around me instantly changed their faces, pointing to McGrady and talking. McGrady's face turned blue and white, and he was ashamed to go on and swearing away. The master took me to the hospital to deal with the wound, looked at the scald on my ankle, and sighed, "You are too kind, you should have done this to her long ago." I smiled, there is no hate in my heart, only a complete relief of ease. In the days that followed, I finally didn't have to worry about McGrady's bills anymore, and I didn't have to work 3 jobs a day. I quit my job at the construction site and the night market, leaving only the post in the auto repair factory. I commute to and from work every day, and finally have my own time. I began to learn to take care of myself, buy new clothes for myself, go for a walk in the park on weekends, have dinner with friends occasionally, and even enroll in an auto repair technology promotion class to make myself better. A few months later, I received a call from Aunt Teresa. She told me that Maddy had been evicted by the landlord because she could not pay the rent and had to move back to her parents' house. However, she still can't change her nature of being lazy and only demanding. She loses her temper at home every day and scolds her parents for being incompetent and can't continue to squander her money. Later, she secretly used her parents' ID card to apply for a credit card, which cost tens of thousands of dollars to buy brand-name bags and cosmetics, and went to the bar to splurge. Now banks are collecting debts every day, parents' pensions are frozen, credit is destroyed, and life is a mess. Helen, your parents regret it. I want to ask you if you can forgive them and help them. The aunt's tone was difficult. I was silent for a long time, and finally refused. "Auntie, I don't hate them anymore, but I won't help them anymore. They chose the road themselves, and they should bear the consequences themselves. I have done enough for this family, and now I just want to live my life." Hung up the phone, I looked out of the window of the sun, the in the mind calm like a pool of water. I have no pleasure of revenge, only a kind of dust-settled relief. Another year later, with my superb auto repair skills, I was promoted to the technical supervisor of the auto repair factory, and my salary doubled several times. I bought a small apartment with the money I saved. Although it was not big, it was warm and comfortable. I decorated the apartment cleanly, and the balcony was full of flowers. I came home from get-off work every day and looked at these flowers and plants, and my heart was full of happiness. What makes me happier is that I met a person who knows how to cherish me. He is a customer of the auto repair factory, named Luca. Every time he comes to repair the car, he will be attracted by the way I work hard. He didn't dislike the calluses and scars on my hands, but said it was a medal for my hard life. He will bring me a cup of hot milk tea when I get off work, take me on a trip on weekends, listen patiently to my stories of the past, and tell me that my efforts are not taken for granted, and my kindness is worth cherishing. Our second year together, Luca proposed to me. On the day of the wedding, Aunt Teresa came and gave me a big hug. "Helen, I'm so happy to see you so happy now." I smiled and cried, my heart was filled with gratitude. Today, Luca and I live a simple and happy life. I am no longer the tool man who sacrifices himself for family affection, but a happy woman surrounded by love and cherished by others. My hands still have calluses, which is proof of my hard work, but now, these hands are fighting for myself and those who love me. Every effort is rewarded, and every effort is meaningful. Looking back at the past, I am glad that I bravely chose to stop loss. At one time, I thought that family affection meant unconditional sacrifice, and that only by constantly paying can I prove my value, but later I realized that the real family affection is not unilateral solicitation and kidnapping, but mutual respect and mutual support. Sacrifice is not equal to love. Setting up boundaries is the greatest responsibility to oneself and the best protection for family affection. We are always kidnapped by the word family, thinking that no matter what they do, they should forgive and give. But in fact, the real family will not let you have been wronged, will not take your pay for granted. If your kindness and dedication are trampled on, and your forbearance and compromise are treated as weakness, please stand up bravely, set boundaries for yourself, and learn to refuse. You should know that you deserve to be cherished and have a happy life. You don't need to sacrifice yourself for others' approval. When you learn to love yourself and live for yourself, you will find that happiness can be so simple that you can live as your own light. If you have experienced family kidnapping and exhausted yourself for the so-called family, please remember, your kindness is very expensive, and you should leave it to those who know how to cherish it. Your efforts are precious, don't let unworthy people consume you. Live bravely for yourself, you will eventually usher in their own happiness and a happy life. I am no longer the tool man who sacrifices himself for family affection, but a happy woman surrounded by love and cherished by others. My hands still have calluses, which is proof of my hard work, but now, these hands are fighting for myself and those who love me. Every effort is rewarded, and every effort is meaningful. Looking back at the past, I am glad that I bravely chose to stop loss. At one time, I thought that family affection meant unconditional sacrifice, and that only by constantly paying can I prove my value, but later I realized that the real family affection is not unilateral solicitation and kidnapping, but mutual respect and mutual support. Sacrifice is not equal to love. Setting up boundaries is the greatest responsibility to oneself and the best protection for family affection. We are always kidnapped by the word family, thinking that no matter what they do, they should forgive and give. But in fact, the real family will not let you have been wronged, will not take your pay for granted. If your kindness and dedication are trampled on, and your forbearance and compromise are treated as weakness, please stand up bravely, set boundaries for yourself, and learn to refuse. You should know that you deserve to be cherished and have a happy life. You don't need to sacrifice yourself for others' approval. When you learn to love yourself and live for yourself, you will find that happiness can be so simple that you can live as your own light. If you have experienced family kidnapping and exhausted yourself for the so-called family, please remember, your kindness is very expensive, and you should leave it to those who know how to cherish it. Your efforts are precious, don't let unworthy people consume you. Live bravely for yourself, you will eventually usher in their own happiness and a happy life. I am no longer the tool man who sacrifices himself for family affection, but a happy woman surrounded by love and cherished by others. My hands still have calluses, which is proof of my hard work, but now, these hands are fighting for myself and those who love me. Every effort is rewarded, and every effort is meaningful. Looking back at the past, I am glad that I bravely chose to stop loss. At one time, I thought that family affection meant unconditional sacrifice, and that only by constantly paying can I prove my value, but later I realized that the real family affection is not unilateral solicitation and kidnapping, but mutual respect and mutual support. Sacrifice is not equal to love. Setting up boundaries is the greatest responsibility to oneself and the best protection for family affection. We are always kidnapped by the word family, thinking that no matter what they do, they should forgive and give. But in fact, the real family will not let you have been wronged, will not take your pay for granted. If your kindness and dedication are trampled on, and your forbearance and compromise are treated as weakness, please stand up bravely, set boundaries for yourself, and learn to refuse. You should know that you deserve to be cherished and have a happy life. You don't need to sacrifice yourself for others' approval. When you learn to love yourself and live for yourself, you will find that happiness can be so simple that you can live as your own light. If you have experienced family kidnapping and exhausted yourself for the so-called family, please remember, your kindness is very expensive, and you should leave it to those who know how to cherish it. Your efforts are precious, don't let unworthy people consume you. Live bravely for yourself, you will eventually usher in their own happiness.